Hi, I'm a Google developer expert for Angular, but there were four times when I almost switched to React. In 2015, everyone was talking about React. It had a really cool logo, it was more performant than Angular, and it seemed functional, like the UI is a function of state. It seemed like it had a good philosophy behind it. But when I looked at React code, I saw HTML inside JavaScript. And so I remembered all the pain I had suffered before I learned Angular. I thought HTML and JavaScript were separate concerns. That's the lesson I learned from that pain. In reality, the pain came from multiple event handlers in scattered places modifying the same elements in the DOM. And while React mixes HTML and JavaScript, just like Angular, it allows you to do declarative DOM. But the other problem with React was it looked object-oriented to me, just like Angular. So what benefit would I get from switching? See, that didn't look exactly like this. This came later, maybe 2016, 2017, I don't know. But it's got a constructor, it's got event handlers, this.setState. The only difference between this and regular OOP is the API this.setState, which in my opinion is even worse than just regular OOP. But yeah, I didn't like how it looked. I didn't see any benefits. And then the HTML in JavaScript thing, I was like, I'm not switching. The second time I considered switching to React was in 2018 when I was at a demo in Lehi, Utah, where I saw a hooks example just like this, color-coded by Concern, and I saw how much cleaner the code looked after it was written with hooks. So it became less object-oriented and cleaner, less, more separated by Concern. I love this. Around this time, I also started having the suspicion that maybe React developers are smarter than Angular developers, because the response to hooks in the React community was very positive. But in the Angular community, we have RxJS, but a lot of Angular developers don't like RxJS, even though it lets you separate by concern as well. So I actually started applying for React jobs. But I waited for a year so that I wouldn't have to touch any of the pre-hooks code. So really, 2019 was the second time I almost switched to React, 2019. So what stopped me? Framework tribalism. It turns out I wasn't the only person who had the idea that maybe React developers are smarter than Angular developers, because React developers also have that idea. I mean, in 2015, 2016, it was really close. Like, what are you going to go with, Angular or React? But by 2018, definitely by 2019, React had won. Before that, they were neck and neck, but by 2019, React was like at least 3 times more popular than Angular. And with hooks, React had incredible momentum. So in 2019, when I had interviews with React engineers, anytime I mentioned my Angular experience, I noticed. I could tell they weren't saying what they wanted to say. A lot of times they would just sigh. Other times they would I'd see a smirk on their face. It really pissed me off. So that was the second time. The third time was in 2020. I decided to downplay my Angular experience or omit it completely, and I started applying to jobs, and it worked. I almost got hired. I was about to get a job offer in March 2020 when COVID hit. The company I was going to work for froze hiring, and that was that. I stayed at the current job I had and stuck with Angular. Then in 2021, I kind of took a break from web development in general, but 2022 is when I decided I wanted to be part of a team, part of a team that I really could learn from, and so I wanted to work at Tesla, and I wanted to work in React. I thought Tesla would be extremely hard to get a job at, so I was planning how to eventually get a job there. But randomly, a recruiter reached out to me. I passed the interview, and I got a job at Tesla. It was technically a contracting role, but I was using React, and I had also used React a little bit before because I wanted some preparation in case I was able to switch eventually. And the senior React developer said that I was like any other developer, like after the first couple days. So yeah, people definitely overestimate how long it takes to learn a new framework. Because someone like I've seen React developers come and learn Angular, and they're like any other developer after like a week. So that framework tribalism is really annoying. But the reason this fourth time I really wanted to switch away from Angular and to React is because nothing was happening in Angular. So Ivy had been released and it had been talked about for years. And 2020, it finally came and nothing happened. It had been like 2 years and nothing happened. There was an issue to make component inputs observables. And they said, oh, once Ivy comes out, we'll have another look at this. And nothing happened. Nothing happened. So in 2022, I wrote this article. This is when I was doing a lot of article writing. This is really when I started making videos because I was just frustrated with everything. I wanted to try to push reactivity harder than I ever had before. And I wrote this: Angular support is the most disappointing to me personally. I have the most experience with it. The best thing Angular itself provides is an async pipe, which doesn't take advantage of ArcGIS's potential for fine-grained reactivity, simply flagging the component as requiring change detection when a value arrives at the template. And the syntax of the async pipe is awkward. I recommend using RxAngular for that. On the positive side, the ecosystem is RxJS friendly, but despite Angular developers already being familiar with RxJS, the Angular team is working on a new, less capable reactive primitive. It's basically going to do the job of the map RxJS operator. Why would they do this? My guess is that Angular is feeling insecure about its past few years being rated poorly in developer satisfaction, and that the team sees RxJS itself as the culprit, rather than Angular's poor integration with it. But some of the most popular and longest ignored issues on GitHub were for better RxJS integration. That's the component thing. So here's the harshest paragraph. And for some reason, the Angular team is currently inspired by Svelte stores, which are basically less capable versions, a less capable version of behavior subject. Instead, they should be inspired by the fact that Svelte accidentally has better support for a library that Angular's core depends on than Angular does. So if you could tell, I was really frustrated at this point. I wanted to switch to React several times, and I couldn't. And the greatest thing about Angular, other than TypeScript, was RxJS, and it seemed like it was more and more likely to be abandoned. So I actually got a job offer to use React at Tesla right around this time, just a couple months later. So yeah, I was super excited about it. But at the same time, Ryan Carniato was starting to upload a lot of videos. So I was watching those and understanding, because he was talking about reactivity, and that is the key word that I really like. So he's the creator of Solid.js, and he has been putting signals everywhere. Everybody has been pulling signals into their libraries, including Angular, and that's the reactive primitive, one of them that the Angular team was looking at. So Ryan Carniato was kind of this nexus of reactivity, and learning from Ryan Carniato was the exact thing I needed to understand more what the Angular team was doing. Because I was arguing with Ryan Carniato in his videos, and I was pestering him in the comment sections. Like almost every video, I feel like I was saying something. Here I said a lot of people don't understand the benefits of asynchronous reactivity, but it's literally the same selling point as synchronous reactivity. The only difference is the learning curve. It's not harder to do, there's just more to learn. In my opinion, it's worth it. And eventually, people were pointing out, especially Ryan Carniato, he was pointing out the problems with RxJS, that it can be awkward, it has rough edges, and this whole time I thought it was just fine, and I didn't realize that I had actually been using selectors, Redux selectors, NGRX selectors, and stated app selectors for the stuff that I was saying RxJS could do, because I was aware of the rough edges with RxJS, like the diamond problem, glitches, whatever, all that stuff. So I changed my mind. I was like, you know what? Selectors are this other thing. It belongs to a state management library. It'd be nice for a native Angular thing that smooths the rough edges of RxJS. You should use them both. Use them together. So I wrote this article. I changed my mind. Angular needs a reactive primitive. And it was cool. Ryan Carnado recommended it in like 2 or 3 videos when he was talking about like various communities adopting signals. So that was pretty nice. Also sort of mentioned him in the article itself, hoping that he'd see it, and he did. So that was cool. But yeah, I changed my mind, and I started to really, really respect Angular's decision to go with it and create their own version of signals. And not only that, but the algorithm the Angular team came up with versioning, version numbers for updates, it's really cool. It's really cool. I don't understand it, but I understand some things of it, and I know it's really, really performant. But then I started my job at Tesla, got more React experience, and ended up encountering somebody who is a React developer, very tribal about it, hates Angular, thinks it's like caveman technology, but doesn't like TypeScript. So yeah, I became disillusioned with React developers. There's like no excuse to not understand the benefits of TypeScript now. And I very much get that it's difficult for library authors to support types and inference and all that good stuff. But you have to have some empathy for the people who are using your library. And this guy, I don't think he had used TypeScript in a regular project. Only when people are like, "Hey, can you support this type thing?" And he's like, fine." And then he implements it, and they're like, "Man, I hate TypeScript. It's just this enterprise big. It's like Java. I hate it. Blah blah blah." And there's no excuse. There's no excuse at this point. After all the people who have been converted, who hated it at first, but then were eventually converted, it's ridiculous to not give it a try. It's not even close. It's like there are 10 reasons to adopt TypeScript, and only like 2 were needed. 2 were good enough. It's like way past what you need for it to be a good idea. So there you go. In 2015, React was the cool new library. It was more performant, had a cool logo. Ultimately didn't, because I thought HTML and JavaScript were separate concerns, when in fact it was the imperative code that had given me the pain of seeing HTML inside JavaScript. In 2018, it was the tribalism and the prejudice against Angular developers that React devs had that kept me from switching to React when they released hooks and I wanted to actually switch to React. In 2020, it was the pandemic, and I wanted to switch in 2022 because I was frustrated with Angular, and then I stopped being frustrated with Angular when I became converted to Signals. And now with React server components and all the confusing stuff React is doing and kind of abandoning its principles, Next.js, it's like integration with Next.js, it's a little too much. I'm just looking forward to React. I mean, I love it, but I learned to love it. A lot of the things about it that I didn't like before, I learned to love, but I want it to die now. I want React to die. Solid.js is better in every way, and like literally every way. The one thing React has for it, whether you run the code the first time or subsequent times, it not mattering, and you can actually use let and stuff. I don't want people to use let. I want them to use const. I want declarative code. So that one benefit that React has over Solid.js isn't a benefit. It's the opposite, in my opinion. There are other frameworks with new ideas, better ideas. They're going to be more performant. They're going to leave React in the dust with performance. And I don't know. The only hope React has is the compiler. And at that point, most frameworks could have a compiler, and you could end up writing code that's extremely similar in all frameworks. So thanks for watching, and if you have any similar experiences, feel free to comment. Don't be tribalistic about the frameworks. Give them a try. They'll have good things. And especially don't judge developers from other frameworks. That is stupid. The fact that React devs thought Angular devs were stupid, that was stupid. So don't do that. All right. Thanks.